Hello, everyone, and welcome to Off the Beaten Tracks. Sunday was Father's Day, and I am a father, so I went to the record store and enjoyed myself. Picked up a few things, including this. This is Jim and Dale. It's hard to tell, but the title of the album is 86% of Us. If you look behind the trees and the hairline, that's what it says. I don't know who thought of these graphics, but perhaps this is why they only have one album. This is from 1969. United Artists, kind of psych folk, little pop, some nice harmonies, mostly original tunes, though they do a couple of covers. They do Paul Simon's Richard Cory and Leonard Cohen's Suzanne, but overall, you kind of like the originals better because the covers are okay, but they're covers and there's nothing terribly special about them, so go with the originals. Couldn't really find much of anything about these guys on the internet. I looked. They are not those two Disney chipmunks. That's all I know. This is, and I'm going to apologize right off the top for my lack of polyglottedness. This is Charlie Couture, perhaps. The album is Art and Scalp. This is from 1984, and this is on the Island label. Now, this is kind of pop rocky. It's all in French. Charlie, apologize if that's wrong, probably is, has 25 albums out. This was his 7th. He was a multi-artistic person, much like Herman Brood or Joni Mitchell, and he went back and forth between different artistic disciplines. I think he did painting and photography. I have to say this album, much like Pagliaro, who I really like in English, in French, I don't understand what he's talking about, so the songs don't quite stick with me the same way. I'm not saying this is bad. Because it's in French, there's that barrier. The vibe for the music is kind of Clapton does J.J. Cale, to give you an idea, kind of rocking, but not too rocking, a little restrained. But I'm sure it's good because a guy with 25 albums, he has to be doing something right. The next album is By Tornado. Now, I had a feeling I might not like this when I picked it up. Don't ask me why. That's just the way I am. I pick up some stuff sometimes when I know I'm not going to like it. And indeed, this is called Hit Me Again. It's from 1977. This is a funk disco duo. It's about 45 minutes of unmitigated asswag. And I've stated in other videos that, kind of heavy funk is just not my main happy playing ground. And it's not all terrible to me. I'm sure if you like this kind of stuff, then it's probably a great album. Reggae rock and roll is not a bad little song. It's kind of in the Dreadlock Holiday vein, but without the sense of humor. I don't know really what kind of mood I'd have to be in to listen to this album again, but I own it now, and it's going to stay in my shelves because that's just who I am. Another band, very hard to find out what the heck is going on with them on the internet. Going to go a little bit rockin' now. This is more in my vein of fandom. This is a band called Copperhead. This is self-titled from 1973. This band was formed by John Cipollina from the Quicksilver Messenger service. This was their only record. They did record a second record, but this one flopped, so Columbia Records refused to release the second one. It starts out poorly. There's a song about a guy who leaves his family and children to join the roller derby. It's about as good as you think. After that, it actually picks up. There's a song called Kibitzer that has a really nice Bo Diddley groove, and there's some psych guitars on this thing. Yeah, rock psych album from the early 70s. I got this for about $8. If you can get it for under $10, I think it's well worth it. And Columbia was wrong to not put out that second album. Here's another duo. This is Jim and Jean this time. And I much prefer Jean, to tell you the truth. Though Jim has an interesting history. This is from 1968. This is their third album. It's folk psych, perhaps, a little. Jim, when he was in college, was a classmate or was an acquaintance of Phil Oakes, turned Phil Oakes on to socialism, and also taught him to play the guitar. They were in a band together at one point called the Singing Socialists. Now, Jean has her own history. Jean, and take a good look at her there, she is the inspiration for Neil Young's song Cinnamon Girl. These guys, I think, are out of San Francisco, and I think he was, I don't know, I'm making that up. But she is definitely the inspiration for Cinnamon Girl, and just the kind of thing you'd want to dip into your hot chocolate. I know I would. Now, she also, her mother was Art Linkletter's private secretary. And their big break came when her mother convinced Art to put them on Art's show. And that's how they... Now, this album doesn't take itself terribly seriously. There's some goofy shit on this, as well as, songs about workers and world peace and things like that, as you'd expect any decent folkie to do, and the redistribution of wealth. But I like this. I would certainly pick it up. There's nothing wrong with that album. For a couple of bucks, what did I pay? $7. Okay. This is a brand new album. Well, brand new. It's from 2018. Earth, Moon, Earth. I saw it in the bins, and it intrigued me. Now, I don't buy a ton of blind buys that are recent albums, because when you're paying $5 to take a shot on an album like Tornado and you realize that you aren't going to listen to it ever again, it doesn't sting quite as much as if you're paying $35 to buy a terrible album that you'll never listen to again. But this was $13. I looked it up on Discogs while I was at the store, and this on Discogs was the prices started at $42, so I thought, hey, that's not bad. It's also described it as prog space rock, which is genres I like. While this is definitely spacey, and there are songs about space on this, I've listened to an open pit mine full of prog, and this does not really fit my definition of what prog is. Though I really like this album. This is one of those albums that you listen to and you basically think, this is going to grow on me. I like this already, but I know I'm going to like this more than I do now. And I listened to it a second time this morning, and yes, this is a good album. The singer, Gabriela Avero, her voice is a little like Annie Gold from The Shirts, or perhaps a young Bernadette Peters. I picked it, as I say, if you can get this under $42, it's well worth it. I'm going to listen to that again soon. Okay, my next album. This is my guilty pleasure album. This is the cover I couldn't resist. This cost me $1. Not only are the costumes hideous, that Taylor must have made out like a bandit, but the album title is stupid. Their name is Country Revolution. This is Country Revolution Country. Well, it's on the Nashville West label, and calls itself a special collector's edition for private distribution only. I'm guessing that, and there's nothing on the web about this album. I couldn't even find this album on Discogs. My guess is they were probably a club band, possibly played the Holiday Inn circuit kind of thing, and they had these printed up and sold them at their shows. It's not a bad album. It's not terrible. It's not Kenny Rogers at his finest or Dolly Parton, but these guys, there's a couple of original songs on here, and they do some covers, and Neil Diamond, Paul Simon, Willie Nelson. My overall impression is it could be a lot worse, like their suits. Okay, next I'm going to go to Marty Cooper. Now, Marty was predominantly, this is called A Minute of Your Time. He was predominantly a songwriter, and he'd written tunes for Donnie and Marie and Stevie Wonder. And how many people could say that? He also co-wrote and produced Jack Nietzsche's Lonely Surfer album from 1973. This is from 1972. It is was a relatively successful album. It's kind of folky. The songs are pretty good. Well done. You know, you sit there listening to his voice and trying to figure out who he sounds like, but it's a pretty good album, and it sold apparently pretty well and got some radio play. So then he didn't make another album for 7 years, and the album he did do was only released in Europe. I don't quite get that, but you know, the music business can be puzzling at times. The second song pretty well sets you on the course. It's called Cowboys and Daddies. It's one of those, you know, country western kind of whorefests that, you know, the Daisy a Day, if you love me, love kind of song, where if you can get past that, you're ready for the rest of the album. Here's my last album. This is Clover. The album is called 49er. These guys are out of San Francisco, unlike when I completely lied about Jim and Jean, who I have no idea where they come from. This was their second album. It's kind of a blues, country rock, pretty enjoyable. This band has quite a history, probably why it cost so much. Beyond being a pretty good album, and I don't know how rare it is, but to start out, they came out, as I said, from the Bay Area. They put out a self-titled album. This is the second one. And then they moved to England, where they hired Huey Lewis of Huey Lewis and the News as their lead singer. And then they got hired to be Elvis Costello's backup band for My Aim Is True. Pretty interesting already, right? And after that, after the band called it quits, Alex Call, who was the original vocalist for this band, he wrote several hits for Huey Lewis, and he wrote Tommy Tune's biggest hit. Beyond the News, the members of this group also played in the Doobie Brothers, Toto, and Lucinda Williams. Back to the album. I like it. Had a nice groove. I'm going to listen to this a few more times, see which songs hit me, but I know I'm going to like this album. You probably would too, and just reading about it takes you 45 minutes. I mean, the history is amazing. So that is today's show, and I made a mistake in the middle, and I hope I can cut it out. So it will be seamless, and you will have no idea that I totally fucked up. So I'll see you next time on Off the Beaten Tracks.